to welcome everybody here to the Ballard Center. I'm here for the very first time, and there's some new faces. Just real briefly, it's a Baha'i Center, it's a faith, so it's a Baha'i faith, which is an independent world religion. And what we do at the Baha'i Center is it's a place of worship, of course. It's also a place where we provide service, such as what we're doing here tonight. And it's a place where we also fellowship. So, and the message of the Baha'i faith is unity and oneness of humanity, promoting that principle. And when I say oneness, I don't mean sameness, I mean unity and diversity. So that's what Baha'i faith is all about. It's about love, unity, and peace, and brotherhood for all. So I'll turn that over.
Thank you, Bob.
Uh-huh.
First of all, tonight, I just wanted to thank the other board members. I have a couple of them here tonight. Jose Salcido is our first executive vice president, and then Trudy McCanna, who's been reading you in the back there. So thank you, the two of you, for being here to help me out tonight. And then next, I wanted to say thank you. They're not here tonight, but this is being videotaped, so the people who couldn't make it can see this. I wanted to thank especially the Department of Transportation for making some amazing improvements to make our streets safer around Willow Glen High School. So there was a horrible accident there in December 2024 where a student was severely injured. There have been several other accidents there. So the Department of Transportation has put up this extra sign that makes it more visible, so cars turning from Cottolon to Kirtner know to yield to pedestrians. They also, during school times, have delayed the traffic from going until the pedestrians have gone across for 7 seconds. It used to be 4 seconds, now it's 7 seconds, so they can get across those first 2 lanes of traffic. And I'm working with them and the school to change some other things to make the area a lot safer. So I want to thank them for the changes they've made already. We have some great events coming up. The two that are our events are in blue. Willow Glen Business Association is having a family night on the avenue. We always have like the wine walk and the beer fest. We're having a family night, so no alcohol involved. Bring your families out for that one on July 31st. Our big event for the year is National Night Out. We hold this at Willow Street Randall Park. We're gonna have 5 food trucks there, including Cousin's Maine Lobster. They make these lobster rolls that are amazing. We have Mr. Softy ice cream out there, Kona ice, and we have a chicken truck out there this time, and then another food truck. So that'll be great. Live band this year by Hoot Nanny. Been talking to a lot of bands. That should be great. So hopefully you'll come out and join us. If you're a member or become a member that night, we will give you a $10 coupon to use on the food truck. So come on, have some food on us. Something new we're adding this year, August 24th, we're going to host a repair cafe. This is where you can come and bring your vacuum cleaner, your toaster, your bicycle, any kind of little appliance you think that you have hanging around the house that doesn't work. And there will be volunteers there to help try to fix it. If you're also a handy person, you're welcome to volunteer and come try to help other people's things. They have a whole bicycle tent. They also have a whole sewing section. So if you have something that needs to be hemmed or mended or something like that, bring it out to the repair cafe. It should be really fun. They've been doing this up and down the peninsula. This is going to be the first one in Willow Glen. Viva Calle, we have someone here to tell you about that. And then we have the Willow Glen Business Association's Glen Fest on September 27th. So some fun things to put on your calendar. Next up, okay, we're going to dive in. We'll have Jessica Hellman come on up from Council Member Mulcahy's office and tell us what's going on in the council.
Hi everyone. Fortunately, council member couldn't be here tonight. So yeah, see me. I'm going to give you guys some updates about what's going on, and then I can take a couple of questions, but also if you scan the QR code right there, also submit a question, and I'll make sure to answer it later. So Lincoln Avenue is being repaved. Did you guys know about that? Maybe? No? Okay, so it's getting repaved all the way from Lonis until Kirtner. Cerrica Thai Massage on Lincoln Avenue will also be having a grand opening at 2:30 p.m. on that same day. So,
Where's the address for that one?
I'll tell you. 1375 Lincoln Avenue.
And what was the date?
Saturday, June 21st, 2:30 p.m. And then another thing, we'll be sending out our June e-letters soon. Do you guys receive the e-letters and newsletters? Good, nice. It's more than we usually get. So that's good, that's good. And that one is pretty packed. We're gonna be breaking down what the budget kind of entailed for our district and what that means. Also a lot of policy opinions and conversation from the council member himself. Those letters tend to be pretty popular. People like to engage with those. So yeah, and the newsletter will come out July 1st around then, which is more event oriented. But if there's anything you guys are a part of and you want to include, feel free to connect with us and send that to us. I'll be sure to promote it as we can. I think that's all I have for you guys right now. Is there any pressing questions?
Can you go back to the street?
Or maybe?
Fairly significant. How long will that take, and will it be done in
About a week.
stages, or how are they gonna?
About a week. So they're still in their sort of designing phase right now. They just presented their draft to us and we're kind of, making adjustments for what they proposed to us. Depending on what that final draft looks like, it might change, but about a week is what we would be.
And when are they starting?
We don't have the exact dates yet. Between early and mid-August is what we're looking at right now, but that's tentative and that could change. But as soon as we know, we're trying to make sure that there's a lot of events happening on Lincoln Avenue that we don't want to, disturb. So that time frame is looking like the best option for now.
I know you're also trying to get this done before school starts, so that is less.
And definitely before school starts. So
Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay. Next up, we have Captain Kim Tran, but I don't see him here yet. Police officers do have emergencies sometimes, so we'll come back to him if he's able to drop by. If not, if he has any updates, I'll send those out via email. Next on our agenda, we have Victor Santiago here with Supervisor Elmer's office, so thank you for coming.
Hello everybody, my name is Victor Santiago. I'm here on behalf of Supervisor Ballard today to provide updates on District 4 and the county as a whole. So we'll be touching on mental health and substance abuse. A quick update on our quarterly report that we had. We'll be talking about a new county campaign called One County, One Future. We'll be talking briefly about budget inventory items that our office brought forward to the county budget. And we'll be talking really quickly about upcoming community events. So, firstly, I wanted to give you all an update on the Board of Supervisors Mental Health and Substance Abuse Quarterly Report. So, the Board of Supervisors recently released its latest report on mental health and substance abuse.
Little louder, please.
Since the board has declared these issues a public health crisis in 2022, the county has been making progress to amend this, including expanding access to substance use treatment services, improving crisis support and mobile response, and expanding residential bed treatments. So, since July 2022, the county has added or expanded 208 treatment beds, helping nearly 2,035 people each year. That puts us about 39% of the way towards our 2030 goal of creating more than 530 new beds. We also have 229 new beds in the process of being added, which leaves us 95 beds short of our goal. So, next I wanted to talk about
a new campaign the county launched called One County, One Future. And the county has kicked off this new initiative. The idea is simple. Everyone, regardless of immigration status, deserves to feel safe, supported, and connected to the help they need. The campaign shares easy to understand multilingual info about services like healthcare, housing support, legal aid, and emergency assistance. And you can read more on the county website, or you can Google One County, One Future and read more. Next slide, please. Next, I wanted to touch briefly on the county budget inventory from our office. Should say inventory right there, so I apologize. A little bit of backstory. Budget inventory items are proposals from members of the Board of Supervisors, typically to provide funding for one-time grants or sponsorships for community-based organizations. On Thursday, June 12th, the board finalized the county's budget, 30 projects that provide everything from emergency housing services to math programs. And these were items approved by Supervisor Hellman for use in our district. The 5 major support areas listed there are housing and food, youth education, healthcare, mental health, and issues faced by marginalized groups, along with community engagement. Next one, please. Now we're into the fun part, talking about community events. Firstly, I wanted to flag the Rosewood and Blue Parade, not happening in Willow Glen, but happening in the Rose Garden neighborhood. It's happening on July 4th. It's the premier 4th of July parade in San Jose. And our office will be participating. We have a picture of last year's participation there. And we're inviting you all to come walk with us if you are available and willing to. You can come see me. I'm sitting over there for more information, business cards in the back, and I'll be sending Marin all the information if you're interested. Next, August 5th, National Night Out. Our office is proud to sponsor the Willow Glen Neighborhood Association National Night Out, and we'll be providing a $650 contribution. And we're really grateful for all the work that you do to promote neighborhood togetherness and public safety. And not listed here, but lastly, Glenfest, our office will also be there, and we're a silver sponsor. So that is my update, and thank you all.
Who's this person?
That was news to me that they're helping with National Night Out, so thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, next up we have Director Shiloh Ballard from Valley Water. What's that? Oh,
No,
right,
I will
we'll
wait.
take you next.
No, ma'am, I will wait.
I already announced you, so.
Okay, real quick, again, I'm Shiloh, Underwater District Representative. Last time I was here, I was talking about the ordinance that the district passed around how to protect our riparian corridors and help folks who are living there. And at that time, one of the issues that came up was a while ago, maybe a year ago, the district shifted money away from one of our projects in this district pertaining to the Guadalupe River. And what I mentioned at the time is that several of us on the board, including my colleague, Director Jim Bell, if you remember Jim as a state senator, had been asking and following in the footsteps of my predecessor, Barbara Keegan, whose husband is here tonight. I called you out. To understand what's going to be happening with this project moving forward. So at the time, I said that in July, the CIP committee would be having a more in-depth conversation around some alternatives or some ways of moving forward. And so that has been agendized. It is July 21st, it's at 11 a.m. You can go in person, but it's really easy to Zoom in as well. So we'll make sure that the link gets sent out for the Zoom. There you go. And that's the bulk of what I highlight the fact that the Water District is in the throes right now of updating one of its most consequential plans, and that's called the Water Supply Master Plan. And this is looking out into 2050 to figure out how are we going to make sure our kids have water. And I don't know if there are more slides, but we could probably send these out. But basically, the district is looking at a variety of different projects. How is it that we're going to continue to supply water for us now and in the future? And here we have some of the options that are being discussed and the costs associated with them. And I'll just say as a final thought, and you can just toggle through these, you'll see there on that last one that residential use is a big one, in particular outdoor residential use. We use a lot of water to water lawns. And one of the big thrusts of the water supply master plan is how do we conserve more and how do we reduce our overall demand so that we don't necessarily need to spend a lot of money on those projects that I was showing in that chart with a dollar amount. So the Water District has lots of rebates for swapping out your lawns and putting in drought-tolerant plants. If you have any questions about any of that, I'm happy to field them. Otherwise, I'll pass it on to the captain.
Questions? Yeah.
Do they have any plans to build more water containment units? They keep wanting to add something to save water, to store water. Reservoirs or
Reservoirs.
a reservoir, anything.
Oh, like big storage projects.
Yeah, because they keep wanting more and more people to come here, and they want more and more people to come and stay, and yet they don't have any plans to save more, to store more water. Well, but they want to keep,
Across the street.
they want to keep charging us more, and
For that place. I mean, that's.
So that is exactly what the Water Supply Master Plan is contemplating. They look at what is our projected growth and how do we plan to make sure that we have water to accommodate that. So if you scroll back a couple slides, that one, these are storage projects that are being contemplated. So you'll see 3 of them there. There's a dam that exists. There's a plan to raise the dam to increase capacity in that reservoir. There's Pacheco, which is a small little reservoir that we have, and we would make it really, really, really big. And there's groundwater banking, which if you see the dollar amounts here, groundwater banking is really, really, really cheap compared to these other storage options. So that's what the Water Supply Master Plan is trying to do.
I'm glad to see that, because they keep ramming kind of conservation down our throats, and they keep raising our prices, and they keep throwing money at other things, but nowhere do they talk about adding more containment to store water. Meanwhile, I don't know if you guys know, but we have a lot of friends in Southern California. When they were really ramming it down our throats and charging us with higher fees and higher watering costs, they were still watering their lawns and using water like there was no tomorrow.
It's always been that way.
And not paying any extra fees.
Still doing it. Nothing's changed over the hill. It's
Sounds like this is a hot topic. I am happy to come back and talk more about this, because it's fascinating. And former council member Carol has his hand up.
Hi, Shiloh. Regarding cost and building and storage, referring to the Mercury News and Newsweek, that Pacheco Reservoir project has gone from 900,000 to 2.7 billion. Any comments?
To that leading question.
Well, I think it's typical for people that, we were asked to pay a variety of taxes to a variety of different levels of government, and then inherently what's projected is 3 to 4 times the cost, and then I think people are cynical about the next tax increase if the money can't be spent, in an efficient manner.
Yeah, I would love to come back and talk about all this, because that's what we're contemplating in the Water Supply Master Plan. What is the best way, most cost-effective, environmental, local? I really lean towards what are those self-sufficient ways where we're not dependent upon imported water, for example, so recycled water. But anyway, I would love to come back and talk about all of this. And maybe my predecessor would join me so that we can tag team.
Okay. Thank you very much, Shiloh. Next up, we have Brian Clampitt, who is in charge of placemaking in San Jose, and I'll let you tell him all about that.
Wonderful. I think I'm okay with that, Mark.
Okay.
You guys hear me? Is that good? Go. I'll speak loud.
So my name is Brian Clampitt. I am with the City of San Jose's Department of Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services. I am the parks manager who has the honor of overseeing our placemaking program, which is the program that puts together Viva Calle San Jose, which is this event that we see here. We started Viva Calle in 2015. Basically, Viva Calle is an open streets program where what we do is we transform the ways that streets are used in our cities. We remove all the motorized vehicles and we repopulate the streets with non-motorized forms of transportation like runners, walkers, bikers, skaters, kids in strollers, anything without a motor. We very intentionally pick routes that connect different parts of San Jose, eclectic neighborhoods with other neighborhoods that may need some bringing up. And we do this in a way that we can, one, explore our city in a way that we normally have not done. Because when you get out of your car and you're walking or you're on a bike or you're running, you see things that you don't see when you're driving. When you're driving, your hands are 10 and 2, you're going 35 miles an hour, you're looking ahead of you, you don't see what's on each side of you. But when you go out to Viva Calle, you get to explore your city and find these hidden gems that you may not have known about. We're very excited, as I mentioned. We started this program in 2015. Shiloh was a huge part of how we got to be 10 years old today when she was with the Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition. She was a great partner with ours. And we are now hitting our 10-year anniversary. So 2025, we do 3 events. We do one in April, one in June, and one in September. Our September event is the event that we're going to be talking about today really briefly. That is going to be our 10-year anniversary, and we're extremely excited because we're coming back to Willow Glen. So part of our route will be in Willow Glen. I think the next slide, they have the route. Beautiful. So this is our route. The areas in blue are the streets that will be closed. So our event is from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Street closures will begin at about 8 o'clock in some areas, sometimes as late as 9 o'clock. But down here is Willow Glen. So we're going to be going up Lincoln Avenue. We're going to shoot over Azureas and then go up Park. Once we hit San Carlos, we're going to go down San Carlos. So we're going to be in front of Antique Row all the way to Bascom Avenue. Bascom Avenue will be open, but this section will be closed. If you continue up Park and you get to the Alameda, if you go westbound towards the Alameda and down Negley, you're going to go to the Rose, Municipal Rose Garden. That'll be our third hub. If you travel eastbound on Santa Clara, you're going to go in front of SAP. You're going to go back around through Little Italy, go under 87. You're going to go in front of St. James Park. You're going to shoot up 4th Street to Jackson, and then you're going to go through Japantown. So Japantown is another really, really epic neighborhood we want to go through. You're then going to go down 7th Street to Empire, and then our 4th hub is going to be at the Watson Park. So all of that is going to be close to motorized vehicles. All of these activity hubs have an arrangement of activities for the families to take part in, whether it's free resources, musical acts, live performances, food trucks, free bike repair, water. It's a really great event to engage your community and really explore San Jose in a way we haven't been able to explore without a program like this. So the main part I wanted to just talk about and share, folks, is that Lincoln Avenue will be closed from 10 to 3. One of the parts that we really want to do is engage with our businesses. We know that when we close the streets, businesses tend to get a little worried, how are customers going to get to my business? We have to remind them that our event gets about 125,000 people. So by closing the street, you might not get, vehicle traffic, but you're going to get 125,000 people potentially that are going to go in front of your business. So it's a great way to engage with current customers and find new customers as well. But that in a nutshell, I know you've got a large and a very busy agenda today. I hope to come back in either July or August and talk more specifically about the program. But in a nutshell, Viva Calle, come out and celebrate with us June or September 7th from 10 to 3. Our website is on, I left some flyers in the front. Our website is on the front of there, vivacallesk.org. And just come and check us out. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Yes, sir. Well, so that's a great question.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah, it's, we know that they're out there. We would be silly to say that they're not there, and we certainly can't. We don't have the staffing to say don't have them. We do promote non-motorized forms of transportation. We prefer that. But some bikes without motors go really fast. So as long as you are acting safely, we're not gonna stop anybody, but again, we do prefer that they are all non-motorized forms. Yes, Sean?
I just want to give a shout out to Pureness and you and those that came before you. I mean, for those of you who don't know, it's been 10 years, I can't believe it. It was a huge lift to get this program started, and it is now one of San Jose's, if not the most beloved community event in San Jose. And that's because there are just rock star staff in Pureness, like yourself, like Solis, who like move mountains to make this happen. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
Thank you very much, we appreciate that, we appreciate that. Have folks gone to Viva Card before? Anybody not gone to Viva Card? Come out, come on, let's go, let's go. I'll give you a tour, But that's all, if you have any other questions, I'm happy to chat with you after the meeting, but thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, now we're gonna move on to our topic of the night, which is disaster preparedness. First up, we have the Steckmest, who's gonna talk to you about CERT, which is Community Emergency Response Team. So Lee, come on up, thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'll do that.
Yeah, okay. Nice letter, we're videotaping.
Good. Good evening.
Yeah.
I hopefully you can hear my voice. I prefer not have to use a microphone. A little bit about myself. I've been a volunteer at the San Jose office. Hey, I know you. I know you. Good. I've been a volunteer at the City of San Jose Office of Emergency Management for about 7 years now. I recently got my California State Office of Emergency Services Emergency Management certification. So I'm sort of into this in a big way as a volunteer. And over the time I've developed a passion to help people understand what might happen to our environment. Because we all sit here going, oh, well, we'll be okay. Captain will come along and he'll help us out. But that, I heard laughter in the back row here. But if there's a major incident, all of us who live in single family homes and nice neighborhoods will probably not see much support for at least 72 hours. So we're going to talk about some of those things today. And following me, David's going to talk about what you can do from a community point of view, because those two things together add up to a really strong message to come through for tonight. So let's follow directions. The FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, has come up with 18 separate types of problems here in America. And it's interesting because for each one of these, they've come up with 5 different levels of support for it. From prevention to protection to mitigation to response and recovery. That's their mission for each one of these. The thing that I didn't realize is how are these here in California? In California, do we have avalanches?
Yeah.
Do we have coastal flooding? Do we have cold waves? Do we have drought? Do we have earthquakes?
No.
Do we have hail?
Yes.
Do we have heat waves?
No.
Do we have hurricanes? Can we give me any data on this?
Yep.
The answer is 2023, Southern California, hurricanes over. Massive flooding through San Diego and the East County areas. So we have hurricanes, ice storms, of course, landslides, lightning, flooding, winds, tornadoes, tsunamis. That's the folks down in Santa Cruz and the folks up in Eureka. Volcanic activity, all you have to do is go over to Mammoth Lakes because they get all their power from volcanic activity. Wildfire and winter weather. Interesting. California has everything. And FEMA actually has a chart that I've seen in meetings called the California chart. Because we're the only state in the nation to have every single one of these disasters. Yeah, right. Let's go. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say, as your water district representative, look at how many of those have to do with water.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. And water is a big force. I mean, you start moving water at speeds, and it has huge implications, as we learned in 2017 here in San Jose. So, we have a list like this. Look at what we have here in the Bay Area. 14 of the about the implications for your life. Because these things will happen at some point. The question is, will you be ready or not? Getting prepared is not that hard, believe it or not. We want to avoid the crisis, obviously. What was the last crisis we all had?
89 earthquake.
89 earthquake, that was the one. We've had something subsequent to that.
2017 flooding.
2017 flooding.
Oh, yes.
Well, how about COVID?
Yeah, okay.
You know, that was a major implication for the whole community. Stop and think about it for a minute. What was the problem with COVID besides the disease? What was the unintended consequence that caught all of us by surprise? You got it.
Say again?
Toilet paper. The supply chain, you know, when you laugh at it, but the supply chain couldn't keep up with what's going on. And this is part of what's happening. Sorry, I scared you out. Never sit in the front row if I'm presenting. So,
People don't crap more just because of COVID. I don't understand the whole toilet paper fiasco. You don't shit more.
People were hoarding.
they're hoarding. And there's a message there because if there's a disaster, people are going to hoard. You don't know what you're going to hoard, but you can do some things to avoid impacting you as much as that. By the way, we do keep more toilet paper in my house now than we did before.
We have a
I
bidet.
always did.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
it
you
is-
don't have water.
This will be an interactive meeting, so.
It's already happened.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, because getting prepared is a mental thing, but it's also, you have a lot of questions that come up. What if you had a major fire in your neighborhood? Now, let's go back to LA, January 6th. We have two major fires here, Palisades, over in the western part of LA County, and then in the sort of eastern side, we have the Alton Canyon fire. Now, my brother lived in the Palisades for 40 years. He had 3 homes there over the 40 years. He lives up here in Northern California now. Miraculously, all 3 of his homes survived. Sometimes the homes across the street burned, sometimes homes down the street burned, otherwise they were fine. The point is, the home that was most likely to have a fire problem, the city made them cut back the fire material 150 feet below their house. No problem at all. That whole street, everybody did fine. Trouble is, they're not just starting to move back in now because they finally have water and sewage and all those things going on. So it's going to be a long thing. But the question is, what would you do? Think about it. Captain Tank and his crowd shows up, middle of the night, sirens, lights, saying, "Oh, you got 10 minutes to leave this property, you got 10 minutes. Is that close? You have to evacuate in 10 minutes because of the fire? Could you evacuate your property in 10 minutes with what you need? Number one lesson that came out of the Palisades fire is people took the wrong things. Number one lesson, they took memorabilia. Oh, pills, legal documents, immigration status, on and on, were all ignored. Well, I would suggest there's some things you could do to be better prepared. My house, we have a 10-minute drill. In 10 minutes, we can be out of the house with everything we need. My kids live near me, they can do the 10-minute drill too. Not willingly, but they can do it. You sort of have to encourage them along. So you have the issue of what to do. Now, if you look at San Jose from a fire point of view, this is a new fire map that came out at the end of February that I personally don't like because my home went from low fire hazard, insurance-wise, to high fire hazard by 100 feet. So my insurance company and I are probably going to be having discussions when the policy is renewed. But if you notice, there are 2 special districts. There's an Hellman district and there's an East San Jose district, which says the state calls out that these are higher fire probabilities than we've expected in the past. Which says San Jose Fire is developing plans to have additional resources in those particular areas. You know, also, besides the fire, what if there was a major earthquake? I mean, a major earthquake. Now, this last week, I was working at the County Office of Emergency Services. San Jose has its own Office of Emergency Services. The The county has an Office of Emergency Services that handle the 18 jurisdictions in Santa Clara County. These are the next level of support. Above that goes the state, above the state goes to the federal government. Think about it. What's going to happen if we have a major earthquake? What we simulated in the exercise last week was an 8.9 earthquake in Los Altos Hills on the San Andreas Fault. Bridges collapsed on Aide, 101, 17. There was no way to get transportation from one place to another. Broken water lines all over the place. Electricity was out. Could you get out of this area? Stop and think about it. We have almost 8 million people. And look at the number of roads they have to get out of. What was the number? It was 2 less than came out of Palisades. You don't put people in their cars because they make stupid decisions. Roads got blocked, people got scared, they got out of their cars, they missed things. I learned to do something working with some of the people from the incident management team down in Palisades. As an engineer, I'm used to using feet, yards, meters, whatever system you want to use. They were using the term blade.
Sorry, we lost connection for a second, it should be coming back.
They use the term blade.
Like disaster, right?
I can go on, it's not a problem. But they use that definition of a blade. You have any idea what a blade is? No, it's a D6 blade, a D9 blade, a D10 caterpillar-sized blades of tractors. So at times they were saying, send in D10s, I want 2 blades wide to open up a road for the fire engines. The other thing you don't understand with massive things like earthquakes and fires is the amount of resources. They had over 5,000 people working the Palisades fire. Firemen would be on 2 shifts, 24 hours a day on, 24 hours a day off. In the morning they'd have breakfast, they were given a pail that had 4,000 calories of food for the next 23 and a half hours. The incident management team had 500 people managing the situation, 250 on for 12 hours, 250 off. The amount of resources are amazing because you start saying I have 5,000 firemen or 4,000 firemen or some huge number. Think about it. They got to be fed. They got laundry. They got trucks that need gas or diesel. Someone has to have all that available. On and on and on. They get hurt, they need medical, psychological help, one thing and another. Ladies and gentlemen, it is amazing when you actually get into the California Office of Emergency Services that I've now had a chance to spend a lot of time in and see what is available in situations like this. Oh yes, absolutely, through resources that like you wouldn't believe. So the point is here, there's not a lot of ways out of the Bay Area. So I said we have a 10-minute drill. We're on the road in 10 minutes, and my family. Why? Because there's going to be a lot of people behind us. And you know what? If it's not that bad, if I get to San Luis Obispo, it's not that bad, I can turn around and come back. But if I get stuck here with traffic, 101 gets stopped, or one of the other roads, it becomes very important. So how can you live for 5 days without electricity? Think about it. Summertime, not a big problem. Wintertime, that means no furnace. Whether it's electric furnace or a gas furnace. Gas furnace is the blower will work. Sure, you can spend $35,000 to put in solar and a battery, but that's not the normal solution for situations like this. What do you do? What happens when you don't have these things? And could that happen? Well, look at where the PG&E major substations are. These are approximate, these are not accurate. But they're all along which fault? All along the Hayward Fault. Ladies and gentlemen, what's the next fault they think is going to go? Do I have to go any further with this chart? The point is, we could be without electricity for many, many days, whether we want to believe it or not. It could happen summertime, it could happen wintertime. And what happens when you don't have electricity? Wow. A lot of things you might not think of. First of all, you're not going to charge an electric car, that's pretty obvious. You're also not going to pump gas into your car, because the gas stations need electricity to pump gas out of the tanks. So what's the solution for that? It's very easy.
Keep your tank filled.
Well, at least every time it hits half the tank, fill it up again. Just like you do down at the police station. The cars come in, they get ready to go. The public works is the same way. So the point is, there's some simple things you can do to help make your life easier. Not a big, it it took me no time at all to say when I hit appetite gas, I'll get more. Having been married to a lovely lady for 55 years, it's taken her a little longer to adopt that philosophy, but we're there now. So when we hit half a tank, when she hits half a tank, she goes and gets her things going on. By the way, no internet, probably at our age is not a big deal for the kids, and they'll panic, they won't know what to do. And the big issue is pharmacies. You don't have your medicine, they can't give you medicine because they won't have access to their databases that they need to do. So the real question that comes out of this, yes, we have all the disasters, yes, we have 14 of the 18 here in the Bay Area. Should you prepare? You have to make that decision. I can't make it for you. My family, we made the decision. We moved into a new neighborhood 6 years ago. We had one other person there that was interested in it. We now have 8 people talking about it when we get together. And you know, I'm down in Alpha 5. So I'm down in Tulies, you know, compared to where I am right now. Things can be done, they can be done easily. So, this is out of a FEMA document. If you notice the key words here, developing an individual or family disaster repair or recovery plan. These are your responsibilities. This is not the government's responsibilities, it's your responsibilities. Because when the big ugly happens, yes, there will be public services to help, but it's going to be stretched very, very thin. Just the nature of the animal. PG&E has an awfully good website, their safety action website. This is the only thing good I'm going to say about PG&E tonight. But this website actually is good. They have a lot of good, useful information. San Jose Water has portable units they can bring out to help in neighborhoods where there might be a limited outage of water. The point is, a lot of the utilities, I know Valley Water has a lot of things in the store that can come out and help, but you have to be aware that it's only a limited amount of supplies. So, as I said, there are limited resources. We have only so many officers. We have only so many fire stations. We have some fire stations that aren't even manned. I mean, the one on Communication Hill is not manned. We have one urban search and rescue unit for the city. One USAR. For a city of 1 million. Now, if this were on the same ratio as New York City, we'd have 12. But they have a police force of 27,000 in New York City, something like that. It's a massive number of people. So again, it's back and forth, but again, you need to be aware of some of these things, so you say, maybe when I go home tonight, let's sit down and talk about it. Maybe we can do something. So, the Office of Emergency Management recommends a couple things. Obviously, for a first aid kit for your work location, it doesn't need to be a lot, because your employer has first aid kits there of some nature. But there might be something personal that you would need, some medicine that you had to stay at the office for 24, 48, 96 hours, you have to have it there. An emergency kit for each car. Here's an idea. This looks pretty official, doesn't it? I made this for my family. I bought the bag, I filled it up for each of the family members. We had 6 cars, I made 6 bags during COVID. Why? Because I was bored. I had lots of time on my hand. Now, with 6 bags, every one is different. Because our daughter has girls, our son has boys. You have different items in each bag depending on a lot of different things. In the boys' bag, a lot of different things. In the girls' bag, obviously things that girls would need. This is the size of it. It sits in everybody's car. And every 3 years, we pull them out and I replenish the items that need to be done. Now, this was a Christmas gift. Yeah, exactly. They didn't like it. They'd rather get that little piece of paper. But they got this instead for a Christmas gift. Let me back. Talking about 10 minutes, if you get that notice in the middle of the night. You should have a grab-and-go bag with your important information either in it or near it, or a list of what to go in that bag. And I need 10 minutes to get out of there about right. It could be that bad, especially, you look at Paradise, you look at Santa Rosa, you look at the Oakland Hills, the extent, and this is probably the last level, is a multi-day bug out bag. Bug out bag. And we have those in my house. Our kids don't have them, but we have them in our house. And in there we have things that my wife and I can survive with for an extended period of time if we couldn't be in our house, make our life a little more comfortable. So, what do you need for 72 hours to live? Number one thing is water. Water is number one, water is number two, water is number three, water is number four. Now, can you get water in different formats? Of course. If we do in our house, we go to Walmart, buy the big case, we buy 2 cases in the garage next to the car. Yes, sir?
Is there a shelf life on bottled water?
There is a shelf life depending how you store it. If you put it in the trunk of your car and you park your car outside in the summertime, that's going to shorten the life. Along that same line, if it's a concern to you, I've now found water in aluminum bottles. No shelf life.
You mean no expiration?
No expiration date. Thanks, Jeff. So there are options available. These are expensive. They're about $1, but again, it's a decision. The nice thing, we have choices. Instead of saying, well, you only got this. But again, you can store it. What we do, we use the water bottles, and as we do, we buy new ones, slip it underneath, and just keep going on all the times. I actually have some of my neighbors doing it now for the first time, especially the neighbors who have young children. That think about it. If you have dogs or cats, you might consider water as an item also, because they have requirements as we do as humans. The other ones which are pretty obvious, but I will focus on cash. We're gone to a society where we don't carry much cash. Right? It's to the point where we use credit cards, we tap, or if I look at the generation beyond us, it's their phones. It's the way they do everything. So let's say we have a disaster, no electricity, the batteries go out, and what do? And you only have a couple $50 bills. First thing you buy is going to cost you
$50.
$50. Our house, we have $200 in 1s, 5s, and 10s stuck in the back of the drawer. That's near our
Which are at again?
You have a bunch of booze.
You're welcome to come down, but as the captain's counterpart from my part of the city knows, there are certain homes that are heavily armed. I spent time in the U.S. Navy during Vietnam, so I have shall we say, a good idea of what to do if need be. Documentation is essential. Now, I understand the women here would like to have Brad Pitt's ID and where he lives and all the rest. But the point is, you should have certain things. Number one item on this list is out of this area phone numbers. I might not be able to call Jim. I might not be able to call Jeff, but I can call my relatives in Atlanta, because that's just the way the phone system works. So if there's a problem here, we check in with them, the whole family. They are the point of contact. They don't have lots of issues like this. So the other thing is you can store it out of the cloud. You can store it on a USB drive, which would go with you. Ours is encrypted. It's already in our bag, ready to go. And again, these charts will be glad to share with you. There's no in here. So grab and go. I've been talking about it. Here are a couple of ideas. Very simple. Emergency radio. There are different kinds of emergency radios. Here's a simple one. It's a transistor radio. This one happens to be solar. You can also charge devices. So when you have no electricity, you'll have plenty of time to sit here and grind this out and get electricity. But more importantly, how many of you still have transistor radios? How many of you have portable radios? I would suggest, unless you only walk places, you have a radio in your car. You all have portable radios. I use that as an example to help you understand to think outside the box. You can't just say, what's the radio? No, so as part of getting disaster preparedness is getting thoughtful about things you can do. Again, did that cost anything? No. You just all of a sudden became more aware of what might be available in your particular situation. Oh, wow. I hit the one, so went crazy.
Sit down, please.
There you go. suggest is creating a family plan, so that your family knows what's going on. You know what, they know what you're doing, you know what, we have a designated location we're gonna meet if we have to bug out of the Bay Area, okay? And it's not Starbucks in Las Palmas, I can promise that. Understand what's going on, have phone numbers written down. These are great until they run out of juice. And they do run out of juice. There is a website, Prepare Santa Clara County, which actually has more good information you might want to look at on things you consider doing. But the most important thing is to stay informed. How many of you are signed up for Alert Santa Clara County? Do you get alerts from the county? If you don't, I'll be here at the back of the meeting, I'll help you get signed up, because we don't have a lot of time. It's easy to do, but more importantly, it's focused to your particular area. There are other systems beyond this that are being implemented right now, one called Genesis, that has an impact. But from a normal point of view, this alert Santa Clara County is the right thing. The last thing I wanted to talk about, and it's community emergency response team. And I want you to think of the community emergency response team as cheap disaster insurance. Nothing more than that. Because the more you know, the better you'll be able to handle the situation. It's that simple. There are many CERT members here in the audience. I recognize a lot of them. What is the Community Emergency Response Team? It's a volunteer organization where you are taught by the city of San Jose how to do things in an emergency. Very simple. It's one of the things that you get from the city of San Jose for free.
If you live or work in San Jose.
What?
If you live or work in San Jose.
We've actually changed it, Jeff.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. And the reason we've done that is because we've extended our outreach that we do in Chinese and Vietnamese and Spanish and surrounding communities.
Okay.
Because we have resources here in San Jose. I mean, we're what, 60% of the county's population. So with those things, for the English, it's San Jose, as you said. But for the other ones, we're actually aggressively going after to help people. I mean, we've had, let's see, we're almost the end of the fiscal year. We probably had 160 people graduating in Vietnamese classes. They did one class just for people over 50 who were Vietnamese. The classes are all taught in Vietnamese. It's an amazing experience to watch because people are being exposed to something they never knew about. And that to me is what the city government should do a lot of the times. But what CERT is about is you getting educated so neighbors can help neighbors. Period. That's all it is. If something goes wrong, if the power goes out, you lose whatever, who's going to come and help you? So I know the number 6. My house, houses on either side, the 3 houses behind me. They know me, I know them. Because if something goes wrong, they know they can count on me, and I've told them that. I have a lady next door, her husband died during COVID. She has an adult son with Tourette's syndrome. She's going to need help. No question about it. She also has 2 Teslas, which is really going to need help. So you learn basic disaster stuff, fire, organizations, medical. Now this is not the American Red Cross level of medical things, but the things you learn to do. As an example, someone in your house is on the ground. You don't know if they pass out. We teach you how to do an evaluation of 22 points to figure out, looking at things to see what condition the person is in. So you can make a logical decision whether you do move them, you don't move them, you do these things. Light search and rescue, that becomes terribly important. Because in addition to knowing what to do, we teach you what not to do. Because if the building looks in bad shape and you hear people screaming inside, it's tough. Because your life is more important than their life. Because you can't help other people if you get trapped. So it's a 20-hour curriculum. We have it online, and then we also have it in person, and as obviously we do it in 4 languages now. I think we're the only city in California that does it in 4 languages. So we are trying very hard in the Office of Emergency Management to get the message out. CERT training is very simple. We want to develop a resilient community. That's it. Nothing more than that. I mean, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people here who've been through CERT training, which is great representation. I live down in Allen. We have, or as it's known, Alpha 5. We have about 50 people trained down there. We also have our own radio network in our neighborhood, the Allen Valley Public Safety Network, just for Allen Valley. Some neighbors have put up a system. So we've done some things to help prevent and get the community working together. We have radios in over 300 homes right now, so there's a lot going on. And it's something you might want to consider here. This man over here has some good ideas of how to do that. You want to register for CERT education? That's the URL again. We'll send out the slides. It's not an issue there at all. So in conclusion, you can, that one didn't come through. Yeah.
Was there more on this?
Yeah, there's more on it, that's fine. The important part is you can't control what's going on with a disaster, but you can control your response and your ability to respond. And the ability to help our professional first responders, whether it be law enforcement, fire, or anybody else. Because in an emergency, this guy becomes the first responder too. As part of the disaster service workers program in the city of San Jose. Every San Jose employee becomes a disaster service worker. No questions asked. And San Jose has some unbelievable resources. So, questions? That's it. I'll be in the back.
They have some pretty convenient solar chargers for cell phones and things like that too, and they're the size of a cell phone. They're not big. You can plug them in and charge them with a USB, or you can stick them out in the sun and charge them, and they'll charge your phones.
And that's a good decision to make, depending upon what you need, your economics, and everything else.
They're not expensive.
You know, they're not, but I mean, it's those sorts of ideas that get going, and they generate more ideas and get you better prepared. Yes, sir.
You know, you brought up how more of us are reliant on electronic devices, sources of power, etc., and that was maybe different than 1970. Are there things that you've seen in your lifetime in the last 5 years that have been like, wow, that's a really cool gadget, I'm glad that's around for emergency preparedness?
It would probably be some very mundane things.
The bicycle.
What?
The bicycle.
Bicycle, yeah, that works real well. One of the issues that people have in earthquakes are gas valves.
What's that?
Gas valves, side of your house. Most people don't even think about it. It's out there, and more than likely, it's frozen. When I bought my house 6 years ago, this was the valve on the house. As strong as I am, I couldn't turn it. I called PG&E 2 days later. A very nice individual came out and replaced it. The device I'm referring to is most people use crescent wrenches if they're going to use something. I have found and like this particular device. This is for the gas valve up here. What I like about this is aluminum. It doesn't spark. That's, I guess, one of the biggest things I've seen. So much of disaster preparedness has not changed much. I mean, literally, I was in the military during Vietnam, and we saw unbelievable things, but many of the things back then with the mash units and things they did then are no different than today.
And then on that topic, if there was a significant earthquake, would you immediately go to your gas and turn it off?
No, because it depends what's going on.
Right.
If I spill gas in my neighbor's house, would I turn it off? Oh yeah. And they know it, I told them. They go, well, I said, well, we're not discussing this. No. I'm not gonna blow you to smithereens or you blow me or something like that. Because if one house goes, you know what happens normally.
Yeah,
So,
Bruno.
but it's these things like that. They're small apps. Jeff?
A key point since we're talking about the gas, if you get involved with this, it's very important in an emergency or disaster. Don't turn off the gas unless you have to, unless you smell it or you see it. Because once you turn it off, you can't turn it back on. You have to wait for utility to come in. If there's a major disaster, you could be out of gas for weeks or months.
Yeah,
So don't do it unless you have to.
It's these things you learn in our CERT classes. I mean, we run the classes from teenagers to people in their 80s. There's no limit to what you can learn these sorts of activities. So, as a final thing, my
Museum at 7 p.m. If you're interested in joining the group, because what we do during our meetings, or an hour and a half meetings, we continue on with the training that we've already learned. Instead of, taking the training and then, 3 or 4 years down the line, you're going, well, what did I just learn? How do I get a refresher? So we do go over, we have a training module at each session. We talk about a lot of the things that Leah's talked about. Leah's attended our meetings. We have guest speakers from time to time talking about emergency preparedness. So if you are interested in joining our group, there's several of us here. Maren has my contact information. I'm Jim Carter, and I welcome you to the group.
Great, thank you, Jim.
And Jim's a retired firefighter, so
Even
he
better.
knows his stuff.
Awesome.
That's a great resource.
And Lee, if I'm correct, the CERT training is about 20 hours and it's all online?
No,
Mostly online?
14 hours is online and the other is in person, or you can do 20 hours in person,
Okay,
with various formats
excellent.
to meet requirements of it.
So how long would that take to get the 20 hours?
It's usually done over 2 weekends.
Two weekends?
Yeah, Friday night, Saturday, and then the following Saturday. The last day is a sealed hands-on day, where you're actually using fire extinguishers, things like that people have never used. So it's really, it brings it to life.
And then you get when you complete the course, you get a go bag with a helmet and safety equipment and stuff. It's all free.
$50 retail value.
Well, no, seriously, yeah.
And the badge.
Nice. Okay, excellent. Next up, we have David Smathers Moore, and he is doing something called hubs, village hubs, from CERT together. And I'll let you tell him, or I'll let him tell you more about it.
Thank you. I feel bad though, because I don't have a gift. So in 2022, my name is David Smathers Moore. I live here in District 6. And in 2022, I took the CERT training, learned a lot. And some of us who were other CERT trained people wanted to get together and start forming an organization, which Jim just talked about. And Jim and Jan and I were part of creating this organization in District 6 with the idea that in addition to learning about individual preparedness, that in some communities and other jurisdictions, like in Campbell, they have really organized CERT teams that, like the name says, can go out and do things like set up triage centers and do first aid or do search and rescue when the authorities are not able to reach you, when they're overwhelmed. And we realized that San Jose does this training and it's great, but we're a long way, there's so much more that has to be done to get to the point where every community was going to have like a well-organized CERT team ready to go to sort of come and be an extension of essentially the fire department, right? And provide auxiliary additional capacity. So we worked in creating this organization in District 6, which has that aspiration, right, to get to that point someday. We're probably years away from that. So it's important what Lee's doing to recruit more folks to get trained so that someday we get to the point where there are CERT teams at a neighborhood level who, after a major event, when you can't reach the authorities and 911's not working, they could actually convene and do search and rescue. So that's something that we aspire to, that we're all trying to work toward getting to that kind of capacity. I started then learning about, some of us started doing research about kind of complementary approaches that could build capacity between the level. If you think at first there's individual preparedness at the household level, right? And then there's the big institutions, whether it's government or the Red Cross. And so there's this gap in between, which is this community level. And Lee mentioned first knowing your neighbors, immediate neighbors, that's really, really important. And then there's another level of more people in your neighborhood, and how could you connect with them? And you mentioned like a meetup spot, or like how could you connect with people at the neighborhood level to help each other solve problems? So that's kind of how I got to this Village House project. The hub is basically a neighborhood meeting spot. That's the basic idea, where people go and share information and help out one another. Lee basically already covered this, but just the kind of the why of this. We know that, like you were talking about, We're probably overdue for a major quake. And there's this big project, the Haywire, that project that, like, you know, we start talking about like the Haywire Fault or the Hayward Fault and the potential impact of a major quake there. And there's many parts of the area we've thought, and engineers did all this analysis with the U.S. Geological Survey, and it could be weeks in many parts of the area before you have things like electric power, internet, and cell service, and things that we're so used to having. And then this chart is the number of billion-dollar disaster, including wildfires, weather-related wildfires included per decade, or the average in decades. We just stopped counting this. The federal government is no longer going to keep track of this, but this is in constant dollars, so it's not due to inflation. We can see that weather disasters are obviously an increasing issue. So what's the most important factor in surviving a disaster? There's a lot of academic research that shows that social connection is actually the most protective thing in terms of building resilience. So people in communities where folks are likely involved in community organizations are protected indicators where more people know each other and talk to their neighbors. This is super protective because it's a very flexible kind of capacity. It's like you said, like you prepare for one thing and then COVID hits. You prepare for something else and then 9/11 hits. You know, like by its very nature, we don't know what we don't know. And social connection is like human beings people are so ingenious. So if there's social connection, people will immediately start problem solving after a disaster. And they always do. I mean, universally, people after disaster informally just, you know, like come out of your house. Is your car out? And you start trading information and start, you know, working things out. How can we help one another? So this concept, this village hub, just builds on that tendency of human beings to meet up and try to solve problems. So, like I said, we probably should be doing thinking longer than 3 days, like it could be weeks, the ways the world's changing without these kinds of services that we are so dependent on. The good thing is there's incredible resources in your neighborhood, right? There's all kinds of really skilled people, and there's all kinds of equipment and supplies and everything that are right here. We're just not used to having to access them at the local level. We refer to like if the major highways, there's bridges and overpasses that are down, there's no power, there are all kinds of disruption, and suddenly you can't get around, and you may want to conserve whatever charging you have in your car or gas or electricity you have in your car. So for various reasons, you're now like dependent on your local neighborhood. So there's a lot that's here. This is my neighborhood up in the Alameda. But we're just not used to sourcing it locally. You know, I'm used to going to Costco, or I go to Kaiser for medical things, or I order stuff from Amazon. I'm not used to thinking like, how can we get and share things that we need at the neighborhood level? And so that's basically what the hub kind of facilitates. It's a local meeting spots. It has some very simple low-tech systems, so there's no cell phones aren't working, there's no internet, for tracking information and things that people are looking for and how can folks help one another out. One of the great things is that, of course, people in disaster situations, 99% of the population has a very heart-centered response and wants to help you. You know, most people, if they're okay, they check on their family, and thank goodness we're all okay. Most people have an impulse to want to help out. So this hub system just facilitates it and makes it faster and more efficient for people to share information and problem solve regarding whatever that actual specific situations are in the neighborhood. So it's very complementary to the CERT training. It's a more basic thing. It's 5 hours to get trained to be a hub volunteer to help manage one of these local meetup spots. And our hope is that some people will get involved in this and then also go on and do the CERT training, which takes more time. There's no overlap. I'll show a chart in a moment of their functions. They're completely complementary programs. So one of the things that hubs do, like I said, is it's just local problem solving. It can take many forms. Here's one simple example. It's pouring rain after a huge earthquake. There's a home where they feel like they're confident it's structurally sound, but there's some leaking happening. So this family maybe a couple blocks away, there's somebody who works in construction, or for whatever reason, they have these huge charts, and they're happy to lend them. But without something like Nextdoor or other digital tools that we're used to, if those aren't working, how are these folks going to get connected? So this is just one simple example of kind of infinite variety of kinds of things where people can swap, information and resources and help each other out. Another thing is just that, again, there's no internet. It's a place that people can know to go in their neighborhood to find out what the heck's going on. What's the latest information? So the hub also has volunteers are trained on systems for keeping track of and posting the most important information. So this whole Village Hubs concept was developed in Seattle, and this is from, I went up there to some of their drills, some of their practice events. So this is a whiteboard at one of their practice events. Cyber attack, by the way, is unfortunately something that we probably should, also be aware that all our systems could go down at some point. So here's the details. I won't go through every line, but the CERT and the Hubs program are completely complementary. The Hubs, we do not learn to do some of the more complex things like search and rescue. We don't do the advanced kind of first aid that Lee was talking about. We do this more simple kind of mixing and matching to solve more simple problems in the neighborhood. So the critical thing is to simply have this meetup spot. So people know, oh, it's in such and such park. And some folks maybe will never go to any of these trainings, but if they do, ideally they do their personal preparedness at their household level, and if they then also know, oh, such and such park a few blocks away, that's the meetup spot. If they've heard that a few times, they would at least know to go there, either because they have some need, we can't find grandma, or because they're okay and they're like, well, I can't go to work, I want to go down and see what's going on and see if I can help out. People may have a skill or a resource that they don't realize is valuable, but at that particular moment, that thing they have in the back of the garage is suddenly really useful to another family. Or a skill that they have. Maybe they were in an army and they were a medic, and that skill is going to be useful somewhere. So these are a couple of our upcoming events. We start with an online orientation. It's a 2-hour online class. I know that sounds like a long class on Zoom, but it goes fast. People have given really positive feedback about it. And then there's a couple different groups in San Jose that are creating these hubs, that have created like a local committee that are organizing them. One of them is on Dry Creek Road, and they are doing a hub pop-up demo. We also have these more elaborate drills where we do all these role plays and problem solving that are really fun. This is a simpler kind of demo where this group on Dry Creek Road is going to set up their hub and invite neighbors, people to just drop by and check it out and learn more about some of the systems that they use. And just educate their immediate neighborhood about the location that they've established. But they made it clear that people are welcome to come from their neighborhoods to check it out. So if you're interested in seeing that, you go to pass around a flyer. I don't have enough for everybody, but if you want to take a picture or get the QR code on the flyer, get it off of there.
And I can email that out to everybody too.
And there are a few on the table out back also on your way out if you want to get that QR code. So yeah, and this group on Dry Creek Road is pretty much now has their locations out there. I was going to say the first hub that's really operational that we have agreement about is in my neighborhood at the Westminster Presbyterian Church on the Alameda at Shasta. And the pastor Brian there is really supportive of this project and has allowed us to do various practice workshops and events there. And it is an active, that's where this photo is, and it is an active hub location, meaning if you happen to be in that neighborhood and the proverbial hits the fan, you can go to that location and people will be meeting there to start problem solving and sharing information. Questions?
I think a couple of them, and one of the things that was kind of big there is medical supplies and medicine and different sharing and this and that, so that was kind of, I thought was a big thing at the hubs.
Yeah, it can take, that's one of the categories that frequently comes up. And yeah, it's very flexible, right, depending on what people need and what the situation is. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to know, if there's any way of knowing who else in your neighborhood has done this training, so that we have a team approach, once we're all certified, or whatever we call it, to, connect directly with those people, with the leaders that have this.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, so I'm working to eventually having a digital way of doing that. Right now, I'm the common point of contact.
But what about the CERT people? Is there a database that shows us who in our neighborhood? Is it?
Well, yeah, so Shannon,
They already developed a website, and I'm sorry I didn't bring any literature tonight, but I will next week, and I'll pass along some to her, so that she can pass out.
Would there be maybe a map or some kind of, like, for us to digitally identify those people?
Well, right now we have a group of people that meet, like I mentioned, the last Thursday of the month. We would like to expand that group so that we can involve more neighborhoods. We are reaching out to different neighborhood associations to let them know about our organization or our committee that we have. Right now, we are, myself and Janet, who's also on the steering committee right now for this group part of contact.
Okay, well, a lot of us are right here in Gardner, we have, monthly meetings also, so it would be nice to I would like to find some other leaderships, like leaders like myself that are willing to make this commitment and know each other.
yeah, exactly.
The challenge, the challenge of that is
Privacy.
privacy of information.
Yes.
However, if the individual is so inclined, they can contact you, but more likely we want to provide the information that you can, go the other way. So, and it's working quite well within the organization you're talking about.
What time is that meeting?
7 p.m. And we usually conclude at 8:30.
Pardon me?
We usually conclude at an hour and a half, 8:30.
And it's
That's at the fire museum.
Yes.
last Thursday of the month.
Last Thursday of the month. Fire museum is located at Martin and St. James.
With parking.
With parking.
Oh, on-site parking spot?
On-site parking, yes.
I'll just write down the David Wood, it would be fine.
Oh, yeah, you can do it.
Yeah.
Also, to your point, because many of us have had that same impulse, like we want to find the other people in our immediate neighborhood who are concerned about these issues and how to connect with them. So one of the things on this website, CERTtogether.org, is a map. One of the tabs is a map, and it's showing where these hub locations are. Now, there's only one right now. We always have, what I just told you about. And it also has areas highlighted where I know that there are people trying to organize these hubs that have like a local committee that started working, but they haven't yet identified the location because they need to get permission from the property owner or whatever. But if somebody's interested and they're like, oh, I'm in that neighborhood and I want to find those people, they can email me through this website and I can connect people.
Yeah, I was gonna ask exactly that. Do you know what locations there are hubs? Will there be a map of them? So you answered that. What types of locations are you looking for people to create hubs? Would it be schools or churches or private
Yeah.
residences?
So the focus is on outdoor because of after earthquakes, not having to take the time to assess if this building is safe or whatever, but like operational right away outside. So parks or like other, like churches or other institutions that you reach an agreement, like we did with that church on the Alameda, to meet up. So yeah, those are.
So with that said,
Some of the other neighborhoods. The most active group is Glenside Riviera, which I hear declared independence from your organization a few years ago. I hope there's no hard feelings.
That would be
they were never part of the association.
Oh, they were, okay.
Okay.
I heard a rumor.
No.
They were joking on it. Anyways, Glenside Riviera, which I hadn't been familiar with the name, but it's kind of near 280.
280 and
Meridian.
got Pedro and Paula. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have a
Fruitdale.
very active neighborhood organization, and they have a committee, a subcommittee working on how, like 12 people who've been to these trainings and workshops, and they're really into it. And then the drive-through group, and then the Alameda one, and there's West San Jose District 1, there's a group working. So there's
So on your comment about having an open space for the hub, then I guess a large surface parking lot would work as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you have to think about, would the, a parking lot that you're pretty confident wouldn't be needed for cars or be filled with cars or
Well,
whatever.
if it's a disaster, I'm sure no one's at Safeway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless they're trying to
Plus,
walk away.
it's good to be able to do practice events there too, so you get to have that consideration.
Has the city given any thought to having containers, emergency supply containers dispersed throughout the city, in strategic locations?
There are supplies for the 10 council districts in the city. They're in the process of negotiating space in the various locations around the city. Being a volunteer, I can say it's interesting to watch intramurals between various organizations. But having said that, they're in the process now of starting to get things moving out to the various locations. And they will have a fair amount of supplies in it. Not food or things like that, but emergency sort of supplies, tarps, generators, things of that nature.
How far away is that from happening?
Talk to the legal department.
Yeah, it's,
The fact that that hasn't already been done is critical.
I think it's important, it's the first presentation of responsibility at every individual level. You can't rely on the government to disperse micro stations of this or that. You gotta follow that list and be prepared and have a variety of things in your home.
So my question would be, how do we get younger people involved in this kind of thing? Because it's gonna be crucial. I'm looking around the room, and no offense folks, but you're all about my age or higher. And it would be really good to get some young folks.
Well, one of the things that's really cool with CERT is there's a teen CERT program in many communities. I don't know exactly the status in San Jose, but there's a teen CERT program. I know some places like Los Altos Hills, for example, the teen CERT program is super active.
Wow, of all places.
So, yeah.
I'm just
good
wondering,
point,
you
very
know,
good point.
if there's a presentation that you could go to high schools and give presentation, the same presentation at high schools.
Yeah.
we actually have gone into Andrew Hill High School. There's a teacher there who decided to have a part of their class, and we did a full CERT program for about 25 students there.
Awesome.
It worked well, but it was because the teacher was an advocate for it.
Mm-hmm.
We have knocked on doors of other high schools like Independence with a population that would love to get in there.
Yeah.
And it's one of these things where it doesn't happen. So again, organic things that come from the inside out tend to work a lot better than the other way around, in my experience. But we've done that. We've actually done CERT programs on company locations. And we've gone to a company, and people in the company said, come to us. They said we can give you 2 hours a day, once a week. So we did 10 weeks and got people through the whole program. So we're willing to be flexible. David's willing to be flexible, but a lot of times it's the organic nature of people asking for help. I mean, we do probably 400 graduates a year. We have 1,600 graduates in San Jose. Next to Los Angeles, we're number 2.
Wow.
In number of people. And we have about 1,500 people on our wait list saying, I'm interested, but I can't fit into my schedule, but keep me posted. Fine, we'll be glad to do that. So there's obviously an urgency and an interest, but it's always the challenges, it's more of a pull than a push.
Yeah. Oh, sure. That's why I was targeting younger people. I mean, could you make like a summer program out of it or something?
You have to make it Instagrammable.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, it doesn't work on a small screen, it doesn't work.
Thank you for your attention and interest in these issues. And if you're interested in more with this Hubs project, you can contact me through this website. And I'll start to you.
All right, thank you.
One more.
Yes, of course.
I was rocking and rolling, and I forgot to hand these out because we missed the slide after we had that interruption. If you need, these, let me take one. Part hardest part of disaster preparedness is the first step. Taking the first step. Here's a suggestion. Here's a 24-week idea